You're all set.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Government Operations Committee. It is Thursday, November 6th, 2025 at 2 p.m. And I'm calling this meeting to order. We do have quorum, but we are awaiting two of our other members to join us. Changes to the agenda. Don't see any. Public comment. Kind of quiet in here today. Let's look at the minutes from October 2nd. Can somebody, Mike moves, Rich seconds. Any comments or questions or changes on the minutes?
No changes, but Mr. Nolan has joined us, so we do have to do roll call.
Oh, okay, great. Mr. Nolan is on Zoom.
Sorry about that.
No worries. We are just about to approve the minutes. What is your vote on the minutes, Dan?
Yes.
Thank you. Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. That passes unanimously.
Yes.
Okay. And there is our fifth member arriving. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start off with County Administration, authorization to renew seismic monitoring agreement with Cornell University, ID 13651. Can I have somebody move that? Rich moves, seconded by Greg. Thank you. I see Bridget is here.
Sure. So this is one of the many interesting and unknown things that comes across my desk on occasion. As you can see, it's pretty clearly spelled out here in the resolution, but we do have a license agreement with Cornell University for some seismic monitoring equipment at our property at 170 Bostwick Road, and this resolution allows us to renew that licensing agreement. It is for the public good to have measurements of this type. And I'm happy to have any questions. There is a minor typo in the title. It should be seismic with one M, if we could correct that.
Yes, thank you. Okay, questions or comments on this? Mike?
You say it's for the public good. Does that mean we don't get paid for this?
We do not get paid for it.
And how long does this last?
This is for a 2-year term with the option to renew for another 2 years.
All right.
My only thing is, I think it's interesting that do we have a seismic device that's measuring that? Because back when we built the Human Services building, Dooley Kiefer and I talked about the fact that we could have an earthquake here, and we were all poo-pooed by the other legislators about that. So.
I thought it was interesting that we entered into this agreement in 2021, and I have no memory of voting on this.
Nope.
But, okay.
I don't recall it either, but I assume this is in connection with the deep well. Yeah, up at Cornell.
Okay. I remember talking about that, but I don't remember this agreement. Okay. Anything else on this? Let's see. We have to do roll call. Greg?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Thank you. That is unanimous. Bridget, do you want to say if you have updates or anything?
Sure, happy to. I think just briefly, the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer position is currently open and will be closing on the 9th of November, so this weekend. Human Resources will be leading that search, and they've pulled together the members of, or they've at least invited the selected members of that search committee, so I expect that process to kick off the week after next week. So we look forward to going through that process. We also have posted the position for the Director of Human Rights with an application submission date by November 30th. So those two positions are currently posted. I think just more broadly, and I've been sharing updates at each committee, as you know, County Administration has been working very closely with the Department of Social Services and other community agency partners to support residents who are impacted by the end or the interruption in SNAP benefits. So we have, under the emergency authorization, worked to initiate some initial funding for the Southern Tier Food Bank. We're working on the behind the scenes process in order to get that funding out quickly. And we continue to meet with agency partners to understand what other needs may be present for folks to actually access food banks. It was announced yesterday that TCAT would be offering free rides to anyone with an EBT card. So you can show that, no questions asked, and that is in an attempt to get people better access to food. In addition to that, as you know, it's currently, we're in the midst of Code Blue intermittent season. So we've had several Code Blue activation nights over the last several weeks. Prior to the opening of the Code Blue facility on Cherry Street, which is set to be opened on November 24th, anyone in need of shelter on a Code Blue activation night should be in touch with our Department of Social Services to be placed directly. We are on track to open the Code Blue facility on that November 24th date, and from then it will be open 24/7, so daytime warming plus overnight shelter through mid-April. So I just want to make sure I am saying that at every opportunity that I get. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Questions for Bridget?
No, she just answered my question, was when the shelter might open.
Yeah. Back to the two positions that are posted and the search committee, I assume you're going to have legislator or two on each of those?
Yes, so
Okay.
for the, excuse me, for the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer, they have been identified, and I believe Corsa has reached out to them,
Okay.
two legislators,
Okay.
and we expect to do the same for Human Rights Director.
I realize there's a smaller pool to
Yes.
choose from with the end of the year upon us, but okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? All right. Moving on to Department of Planning and Sustainability. And Darby is here to talk about a project. Why don't we go ahead and move the first resolution, and then you can talk to us. Rich moves, so this is the making a negative declaration of environmental significance in relation to resolution blank of 2025, authorizing the sale of Fall Creek Road tax parcel number 2-1-2. Rich moves, seconded by Greg. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. Darby Kiley here from Department of Planning and Sustainability, but I will say this is a group effort. Many departments involved have met with some of the folks from Finance and Corsa, and Maury's reviewed this, so I'm just the messenger on this one. But our Department of Planning and Sustainability reviews the properties that are on the tax foreclosure list. And, we look for conservation issues or other things that, for the reasons that are listed in the land transactions policy, and that's policy 0907. And so this process has evolved over time, but you guys have been aware of it. I come every year or so talking about some properties that we want to withhold from the auction. And so this property came up in Freeville, and there's a map of it on packet page 13. And it's about an acre parcel beside another parcel that we withheld and sold to the village of Freeville back in 2017. And with the pandemic and Supreme Court changes and regulations in New York State, it's taken us a while to pass this property on that we withheld a few years ago. So, and then in the meanwhile, the heirs of the deceased property owner have contacted Finance and said, hey, we didn't realize we weren't paying the taxes. So at this point, it's basically returning the property to the family that had owned it for many years. So there are the amount of back taxes, a little over $3,000, is listed in the resolutions. So the process is to have the secret determination and then authorize the sale. So that's the two resolutions in front of you today, and I'll open it to Maury if he has anything else to add on this process. But it's like I said, just selling it back to the people who had owned it. We've taken title to it since 2023. So that's the goal here.
Great. Did you have anything to add, Maury?
I do not have anything to add. I would point out, if you look at the map, that the bulk of this property is underwater. So the fact that we're able to get the taxes paid and return it to the heirs is, is a good deal from my perspective.
Great. Questions? Mike?
Where did the village of Freeville land with respect to this? Because there was,
Yeah.
last year, I think we were talking about getting it to them.
Yes, and I have been in communication with them because they were interested, but when I explained the situation with the heirs, they were, in talking with the clerk, they understood that might be the preferred option for the county to go.
So you say you talked to the clerk.
I haven't had direct communication with the village board, but I was actually, there's also concern that the price tag was getting higher than they were ready to pay because we had talked about selling it to them for half the taxes owed, and so we hadn't pursued what they were comfortable paying for it because we hadn't gotten to this point.
All right, I guess I'd be happier if I knew what the board, Freeville, wanted to do. And if you're telling me the clerk is speaking for the board, which they may or may not, then.
That's just who I've been having phone conversations with, yeah.
All right.
Something else, Mike?
Well, I guess I'm just uncomfortable from that standpoint. I have no idea, what's going to happen to this property in the future. But it'd certainly be nice to get all the taxes paid back, but is it going to be in the best interest of the village and the people over there if the village doesn't own it, and if it goes back to some other heirs here? And I'm not sure.
Okay, Rich?
I'm wondering, is it possible to call the clerk and ask that directly? Was this a determination of the board, or is it got caught between?
They were just asking where we were in the process, and I let them know about
I guess I wasn't clear. Could
Yeah.
you call the clerk right now? Take a break and call the clerk and find out, and then we'd resolve that issue for
I'd
Mike.
be happy to vote to move this forward if we could find out more information before it gets to the legislature.
Yeah, maybe that's the pathway. I did have a question. That the restriction on development, is that going to be in a deed restriction? Is that the plan?
We have done that in the past, and have spelled that out we have examples, the adjacent property, so if that's the.
That's what you intend to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. This looks fine to me.
Yeah, we have example deeds that we've had the 100-foot deed restriction on it.
Did the deed restriction exist previously, or is that a new addition?
I don't think it did exist because this was a foreclosed property, so it was just came into our hands randomly.
Yeah, I think this would be our restriction. We would be putting in the deed from us
To them.
the new owners.
So essentially, if I'm looking on packet page 13, the only usable portion of that land is that little triangle in purple that's not over the blue
Correct.
or under the water.
Yeah, I mean, someone could build something that met floodplain regulations, but it would be difficult. Get a floodplain permit, and there's a process for that.
And is the adjacent buyer, is that the tile?
Yes, the tile place is the adjacent property.
Okay, so it's same side of the creek. So they could actually use that triangle for some purpose, the purple triangle.
Is it the same owner that owns the one next to it? Oh,
No,
yeah.
no.
Oh, it's not the tile shop?
Oh, no.
So it's the heir owns property
Somebody
across the
different.
creek?
They don't live around here anymore. They grew up down the road.
So they're not adding it to an existing parcel that they own there, they're just gonna,
Just want that parcel back.
okay.
Do they have contiguous land to this parcel?
No,
Like,
it's
no.
just this parcel.
Maybe they like to go fishing. They like water. It is is this something that we need, the Village of Freeville's, like, approval? Or I guess yeah, so,
Just one.
It's a private, it would be the
Yeah.
same as a private land sale.
okay. Okay, Greg?
Man, I'm not usually one to want to restrict land or property rights. It just seems odd to me, and I know people do things for odd reasons. I guess I'm kind of in Mike's camp a little bit. I'd really like to know what the town board, sorry, village, I apologize, village, has to say. I'd move this out of committee, but I'd ask that it not be put on consent agenda so that
Okay.
we could have opportunity for that follow-up.
More questions? Sure, that's fine. Anything else right now? With the understanding that Darby will collect a little more information and we can get some more answers. Maybe Greg and Mike, if you have specific questions, just so Darby knows exactly what she's looking for, you can let her know.
Yeah, my biggest thing is it's such proximity to a natural area and the stream and all that sort of stuff. There's very little usable land. Just trying to understand a little bit more intention, and if there's green space floodplain value to the town, because it's, if it was the tile or the adjoining property, I guess I would maybe feel slightly different, right? Because it's creating a contiguous parcel, but just this sort of random postage stamp that owns the dirt under the creek, it's odd to me. But I still can move it forward. It just can still be odd, so.
Many things are
Many
odd.
things are odd to me, I guess.
All right, let's go ahead and vote. So this is on the making a negative declaration, and then the next one will be the actual authorizing. So roll call. Dan?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. But please don't add this to the consent agenda for the next meeting. Thank you. So the next one is the resolution authorizing the sale of Fall Creek Road tax parcel number 2-1-2. Can I get a mover for that? Rich moves, Greg seconds. And same topic, any last questions? All right, let's see, let's vote. Dan?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And again, please don't add that to the consent agenda. Thank you, Darby.
Thanks. Yeah, so I see the village board already met this month.
Yeah, they meet during our meeting.
What's that?
They often meet during our meeting.
Yes, right, they meet on the first Tuesday. So I'll communicate with them, but it might just be a letter from the mayor.
That would be fine.
Okay, all right, great, thanks.
Anything other exciting geo topics you want to share with us?
Maybe next month I'll be here with the 5-year land inventory. Stay tuned.
All right, exciting.
Find a second turquoise sweater.
You can wear the same one. It's okay. All right, well, thanks so much for being here. Okay, we are going to move on to the county attorney. And we have an assistant county attorney appointment. So I will turn it over to Maury to talk to us.
Sure. What this is a request that either the chair of this committee or any member of the committee make a motion to authorize the extension of a conditional offer of employment to our selected candidate for assistant county attorney. The motion would be, I move to authorize a conditional appointment for an assistant county attorney, a lawful permanent resident of the United States, duly sworn and licensed to practice law by the state of New York, pending their naturalization as a citizen of the United States prior to December 31st, 2026. I am comfortable with this for a number of reasons. First, it's a privilege to welcome a new attorney who has a Master of Laws in addition to the regular legal degree, who is emigrating to the United States, and I think she'll do impeccable work. The oath that the candidate took as an attorney in the state of New York is identical to the oath of a public officer. And particularly in her first year, the candidate will be performing any duties unique to a public officer under close supervision and my license. And the candidate is comfortable with it. She's willing to accept the uncertainty that her naturalization does not come through next year. She's met all the waiting requirements, and typically, once she hits the end of the waiting period, which will be in a couple of weeks, it takes about 5 months for the naturalization to be completed. So I think we're comfortable with the timing. There might be some slippage in that because who knows what backlog has been developed at the federal government in this particular area. But we're ready to go with it, and she's ready to go with it. So I would encourage the chair or any member to make this motion.
Great, thank you. Greg, you want to make the motion? Rich?
I'll second.
Great. Yeah, and Maury did send that language in an email. I assume Jordan has that as well for the minutes. Questions or comments? Mike?
Yeah, this is a new one on me. I can't ever remember this coming up before, a situation like this. Maury, what is the process when we advertise and we take applications? Does the application ask them if they're a U.S. citizen? And what is our obligation under our policies or otherwise to hire a person with U.S. citizenship?
First, the last question first. Our obligation varies by position. Where we are dealing with a position that falls into the category of public officer, which is not all that well defined when you get down to the level of an assistant county attorney, whether they're a public officer or not. Citizenship is a requirement and should be on the application. In this instance, because the oath of an attorney is identical to a public officer, I am comfortable with the conditional appointment. It's sort of like if this individual is good enough to appear in the courts of New York, she's she's good enough to serve as outside counsel to the county. So why would there be any issue with her serving in the county attorney's office, particularly where there's a commitment to the naturalization process? What is our process? It should be part of the advertisement if the position requires citizenship. In this instance, it was not.
That was just a mistake, or what?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that in terms of crafting an advertisement, particularly where licensure as an attorney is required as part of the position, I think that addresses both at the same time, given the gravity of the oath that one takes as an attorney, as required to become admitted to practice before the courts in the state of New York.
And one other thing, if I may, Amanda, and that is, what country is this person currently a citizen of?
Ghana.
Ghana? Okay, I don't know. I know there's been a restriction on the number of immigrants. I don't know if there's any change in the naturalization process for people coming into the country. Everything's been so up in the air out of Washington recently that I just hope we don't set this person up for failure.
I agree with you, and I specifically discussed that with her, that there is some risk of that. Without delving into too many personal details.
No, I don't want you to do that.
I think that what I will, then I'll cut to the chase, is in terms of citizenship applications, this is one that should just be a matter of routine.
Okay, Rich.
This seems fine to me. I'm just curious if our federal government in its wisdom bollocks up the naturalization process. Is this extendable? Could the GO committee next year grant a further extension, or is there a hard stop?
Yes, particularly since, again, she's a licensed attorney, number one, and number two, would continue to be under close supervision of the county attorney, sure.
But GO could just say, yeah, we'll go another 6 months or a year, and,
Yes.
okay, good.
All right, anything else?
Just to clarify, this will be turned into a resolution form? Okay.
And maybe this,
I
maybe this should not go on the consent either. This should be in the GO report.
I was going to say a resolution is not required. It's just a motion
Oh,
that
okay.
would be brought forward and voted upon as a motion.
So do we bring this as a motion to the full legislature?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Katrina and I had worked on this, so maybe if Katrina could come out when she's off the phone.
Right. So we could pass this here, but I guess I assumed it would go to the full legislature too, but maybe it doesn't need to. I don't know.
I also want to be cognizant, if we do take it to the full legislature, I think we kind of towed the line of our individual personnel conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would just want to be respectful of individuals' needs outside of sort of general terms, if we need to discuss this in an executive session.
Let me let Katrina go and then Mike. Would this need, so we made a motion, got seconded, we're talking about it. Does this need to then have a resolution that goes to the full legislature?
I don't think it does. It's just a motion to waive
It's
certain,
to authorize a conditional appointment.
to authorize the
Okay.
conditional.
So we can do that as a committee?
It can be, you can do it as a committee, but I would recommend it being done at the full legislature. It doesn't have to be done in the form of a resolution. It can just be done in the form of a motion.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I see it as similar to waiving someone's residency,
Okay.
and the motion was made to
Okay.
a point with waiving the residency, so.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, should we add some language to the motion to simply say that we recommend it to the legislature or something like that? And how do you want to do that? Or just want to have it cold, come to the legislature?
Yeah, I mean, we could maybe send out the language again and say that under my next GO report that it would, would we do that tonight?
I was going to say, I think this was time sensitive and we were wanting to do it tonight, weren't we, Maury?
It's not necessary to do it tonight, but it would be preferable because the individual is hoping to
Yeah.
start on the 24th.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll make a note and we can talk about it. Numerous legislators are here and online, so they've heard the conversation and
We did have a motion drafted.
yeah,
Yeah.
we already did that.
Okay.
So you would just say on the
I'll just-
recommendation of the GO committee, you'd like to move, and then one of us can
Authorize.
second it,
Yep,
and then we can vote on it.
yep.
Right. Is it, Katrina, would you see it as an addition to the agenda? Would we need to get 10 votes to put it on the agenda?
I don't see it as an addition to the agenda. I think it can just be a motion. You can discuss it under your county attorney.
Okay, I could bring it up
and-
during my report, or it
and we
could be
could
new
ask-
business.
Yeah, or I could do it under GO.
Or under GO, either or.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we do still have to vote on it here. We've discussed it, we've moved it and seconded it. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're going to do roll call. Greg?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, so we will talk about this again in about 3 hours.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Okay, let's go on to some of our favorite resolutions of the year. And Greg, would you like to move the designation of newspaper, ID 13671, please?
Rich will move it.
Thank you, Rich.
Rich moves. Is there a second? Dan Nolan seconds it. I wanted Greg to move it.
I can't vote no for it then.
Okay, so how long do you guys want to talk about this?
0 minutes.
This is our annual resolution. I'm really sad that I won't get to do this a year from now. So let's talk about it for a really long time.
Next year, you can come in on privilege of the floor and
Yes.
speak to it.
I'm going to, for sure. We would like to designate the Ithaca Journal as our daily newspaper of record, where our laws and notices and other things will be published. Rich?
Again, this will be my last time, and so I didn't want to miss the opportunity once again to say I delivered the Ithaca Journal for many years as a child.
Is that a conflict?
And so did, perhaps Mike Lane delivered it too, apparently. But just I encourage my colleagues to get this through committee so we can take it to the full legislature. We do need to have a designated newspaper to post our legal ads.
Greg?
This is the once a year where Katrina gets all squirmy and sweats a little bit. So, yeah, I will just vote no so that we can have the same fun, robust conversation at the full legislature.
Thank you. Katrina?
I would just like to add that all required notices go in the Ithaca Journal, but public hearings are also noticed in the Finger Lakes Community newspaper.
Right, and didn't last year we made some amendment that we would also have things go out to a digital.
I think we looked into doing that. Dominic was working on that,
But we never did that because it was going to cost more. Yeah.
The state needs
Yeah.
to support that.
Yeah, okay. But we have also in the past sent letters to the state saying, please change this. There's many, communities who don't have a regular daily newspaper anymore. So it's not something we haven't talked about before. All right, anything else? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Mike?
No.
Mike is a no. Oh, Rich?
Yes.
Greg? Oh, Dan Nolan?
Yeah. Yes.
Greg?
No.
And I'm a yes. So it squeaks by. We will talk about that, not tonight,
No,
in
this will,
a couple weeks.
I think
Maybe somebody will open up another print newspaper between
Yeah,
now
before
and then.
then.
Wouldn't that be nice?
it will not be on the consent agenda.
Okay. Next one, we need to set the date of our 2026 organizational meeting. Greg moves that, seconded by Rich. And this will be scheduled for Tuesday, January 6th, 2020. Oh, wait.
2026, actually.
2026, there's a typo there. January 6th, 2026 at 5:30 PM. And some of us won't be there. Questions or comments? Let's go ahead and vote. Mike?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
All right, I'm a yes, that passes, thank you. And then resolution correction of errors. Can somebody move that, please? Greg moves, seconded by Rich. Again, our standard resolution that allows the clerk of the legislature to correct any manifest errors in the minutes or reports.
Tempted to vote no. Never fix our mistakes.
We're always right the first time.
That's right.
Okay, this is manifest errors. You can't make up for the things that you've done wrong, but, okay, let's go ahead and vote. Dan?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm yes, thank you. Okay. Great, thanks Katrina for bringing all those forward. Now we're going to talk about my situation here. I've talked to many of you, not all of you, about an idea I got after attending the GARE conference a couple weeks ago, the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. And there was a lot of talk about, you know, this kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion work, and how this sort of thing is not always codified and can be sort of at the whim of any given political party or administration. And it occurred to me that having our Chief Equity and Diversity Officer position in our charter, alongside of our other departments and positions listed in the charter, would make sense. And then when any given person who's serving in this role, if they decided to leave employment, there wouldn't be a question of, oh, do we still need this position? We would all, you know, it would be in the charter. We would know we would have to go forward with hiring this position and take that sort of questioning of it out. So we have a resolution to authorize a public hearing, which we would need to change the charter. And then we also have the resolution that includes the actual adoption of the law. And that one has the local law information, which I hope you've read, and then also included was the resolution back in 2019 that added this position into our creation of new positions, and then also the job description that is currently being used to hire this new person. So I guess if we could move it and get it on the floor, and I'm happy to talk more, and I'm sure there's lots of folks who have things they want to say about it. But maybe there's no one who wants to put it on the floor.
I'll move it.
Greg moves it.
I'll second it to put it on the floor.
Mike seconds it. Thank you. Yeah, so I know there's other legislators. I invited everyone to speak, and if folks want to speak up, now's the time. Mike.
I'll start.
Thanks.
We've had, I think, 2 DEI officers, and Charlene just left us. I'm very sorry she did. She did a wonderful job as far as I was concerned. This was a position that we had never had before. When it was brought forth at that time, I argued that it ought to be a position in the Human Resources Department under our Human Resources Commissioner. Others felt that, well, that wouldn't give it enough exposure, that they wouldn't make it important enough. And so we went ahead and set up this position, and with it's quite an expensive position for the county. I think back to the Veteran Services Officer's position. We didn't have one for years. But the reason we didn't was because there was a state veterans officer stationed in Tompkins County who did that work, and we didn't have to do that or have to spend the money on it. They asked us to at one point, the state asked us to provide an office space for that person, and we didn't do that. And so they pulled the officer out, and then they looked at us and said, oh, you have to have one. And so we added it to the charter. And originally it was just going to be a veteran service officer. Now we've got, what, 3 people in there? And it's gone from, less than $100,000 a year to, I think, well over $200,000 a year in that department. And I'm really afraid that that might also happen with this. And so I think we should have a person doing that, but I'm not convinced it ought to be part of the charter.
Great, thanks, Mike. I see you, Shauna. I guess I'm not sure I want to add this into the mix, but I'm going to. Of course, our county administrator is not here. We had talked about an idea, proposal. I don't know if there was a proposal that he was bringing forward about, which we've talked about, which has been in the ether for months, about combining the Office of Human Rights and the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer position. And I guess I should have followed up with him. I thought that that was going to also be part of our discussion today. I didn't know if he had a specific proposal or whatnot. I feel like that, while I'd like for my resolution to be separate, I feel like that is the direction that a lot of legislators are kind of going and thinking about and talking about. So I guess I don't have any way of addressing that. If folks do want to talk about that.
Does Bridget have any comment on that?
I don't know.
I am not aware of any formal proposal that's been developed by county administration to that effect.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really think there was, because Corsa didn't share anything with me. The positions, as you said, have been both posted, and I'm sure applications are coming in. But I had said that was something that we could talk about. So just putting it out there that, yeah. Rich.
Yeah, I hesitate to jump into this, but I had been considering making a budget amendment to go in that direction and use the savings. And specifically what it would be is for 2026, have the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer handle the role of Director of the Office of Human Rights for 2026, use the savings to fund some very specific programming that it looks like we may well lose otherwise. That was the College Initiative Upstate that OAR runs, and the Endeavor House, which seem to both be in some financial jeopardy. I'm not going to bring that forward because I don't think there are the votes, but I'm troubled because in talking about it, without specifying where this came from, I was advised that I should be careful about my reputation, whether in bringing anything up about this, and whether that was advice or threat, I'm not sure, but it kind of put me in the position I kind of have to talk about it if I want to look at myself in the mirror. I have voted for funding for the Office of Human Rights for 10 years. I'm voting for the budget this year. So it is not as if I haven't supported this office, but I'm troubled if we're in a situation where there are certain departments and certain functions that we can't talk about in any realistic way. Particularly, I'm concerned that the Office of Human Rights was filing complaints with New York State and managing those complaints. That power was taken away by New York State, I believe about 10 years ago. And the office continued to do investigations and was then advised, no, you can't do investigations. This is an office we're spending about $250,000 on a year, and it's not entirely clear what that function is. Again, without diminishing the importance of what we're trying to do or the commitment, I wonder if we can't talk about it, if we can't consider alternatives, how do we get to a better, more effective use of taxpayer money to accomplish the goals we all think are important? And specifically in this area, we have the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer, we have the Office of Human Rights, we have the Community Justice Center, we have Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, we have Team Jedi. And, you know, there's other conversations going on as well. If you look at them in whole, it seems like there should be some consistent, coherent structure surrounding all these related efforts to do something about human rights and social justice in our community. They're all disconnected, and there isn't a consistent plan or structure that I can see, and there hasn't been one for years. And if we can't have the conversation about it, here we are. I won't bring a budget amendment, but I put it on the record. I think we could do a lot better. I think we could do better for the taxpayers, but certainly for the causes that we profess to believe are important in our community, but we don't really address in a meaningful way, in my mind. Thanks. I won't be voting for this.
Sure. Thanks, Rich. And I apologize, Sean, I jumped over you. So I'll let you go ahead, Shauna.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. So I think there's a way to have a conversation about what's working and not working without threatening to shut departments or combine departments or not hire not hire positions. And I don't think us doing a week before we're trying to close out our budget is really the best idea. I think whenever we're talking about decisions, whenever it comes to county formation, we have to listen to the public. That's good government. And I think for us to, slide this in as a budget adjustment or a budget amendment is really short-sighted of us. I hear what you're saying, Rich, about concerns about the operations of perhaps both of these offices. But I think there's a lot more work to do to listen to feedback and to actually figure out what our community needs. Whenever I think about this, I think about the strategic plan that we just did a year ago and the responses that we received back in that strategic plan. And much of the focus was DEI efforts in our community and how we can achieve those. For someone that's been with the county for as long as all of us have, I would hope that we would all know the difference between the Office of Human Rights and the CEDO position. The Office of Human Rights is catering to those individuals in our community. It's outward facing. Anyone can walk in from our community, get help with a grievance. We also, through that office, have had educational events that many people in our community have attended. And it's really a place for people that feel underrepresented or not represented at all can go to. And I will say that over the past 6 months, past year, that office has not been operating the way it should be. So we definitely need to have better and deeper conversations about what that should look like. Because perhaps, what's happened over the past 6 years is that we haven't seen an Office of Human Rights that we could really be proud of. That's not to say that our commissioners aren't doing a great job, because I believe they absolutely have. They've been carrying the load for that office. But I think that office could be so much more. And then as far as the CEDO position goes, that's a part that actually works internally with our organization and really is the checks and balances on if we are doing the justice work that we've promised to our community with our employees. And so I think both of those positions are going to be really essential. And you're right, Rich, we need to have the conversation, but I don't think threatening to take away one of the positions is the way to do it. With that said, I think since we have heard back from our community about the importance of justice and equity and inclusion in our community, that it absolutely makes sense to codify that position.
Point of information.
Yes.
There was never a suggestion to eliminate the position. It would be management of the position. The CEDO would be outward facing and inward facing, and you'd combine the functions in that role. But you would not remove the Office of Human Rights or the director position. Thanks.
Thanks. I see you, Annie. I just want to jump in and have a lot of thoughts, but I think in talking to many of you and, hearing continued thoughts today, I think that what this legislature is saying is that we want more, we want better, we want, maybe there's efficiencies, maybe there's things that can change. And I think those are all conversations to have, which is it's a little hard to have those conversations now talking about this specific resolution. But I guess in response to that, I would just say that this resolution doesn't affect any of that. All of that can still go forward. You can still say, let's have a task force starting January 1 that looks at the various components and how they can work together and how they can't work together and what makes the most sense and how can we get the best value out of, these positions and the money that we're putting into them. This resolution is literally just saying we value having this position, just like we value having a highway director and a director of DSS or commissioner of DSS and director of the Office for the Aging. It's saying that this is something that we want to see developed. And it's not perfect. It's absolutely not perfect. And no department is when it is first started. So I just want to be clear about that. By voting for this and putting it in the charter, that doesn't mean that it can't still be further defined or changed in the future. So let me go to Annie.
Thank you, Amanda. A lot of what I said was said by other folks, you and Shauna, and some other folks. But what I would add that hasn't been fully delineated, looking at our strategic plan, but before I read and quote from that, I know a lot of people here were also involved with helping get information and being out in the community, being in sessions with our employees, developing our strategic plan. And so this is what we heard, and for as specifically regarding DEI issues, that's something that people have been asking for. We have it documented at least 20 years that people have been asking for us to work on this internally. We did have our human rights office, but this was an addition to that. This is a whole nother issue internally, and I do believe it's a full-time job. But what I want to say too is the strategic plan, the second of 5 of our strategic priorities, the second one is equitable service delivery to ensure that all residents have full and convenient access to person-centered county services. The county will develop and implement strategies to provide effective services in the most equitable and accessible manner for community members. And that is something we are just starting to see at WDIC. Some 2 departments have already reported to us on what they have been doing and the new initiatives that they have. And that's really the nitty-gritty of this work. And so that's in large part, well, I would say it's 100% due to the CEDO position, the county, our CEDO position that helped initiate that. So for us to say that this is not important, then maybe we need to go back and take that out of our strategic plan. So we need to do things, when the going gets tough, when the budgeting gets tough, I believe we should go back and look at our strategic priorities and make sure those are being met. That's the bedrock of what we should be doing. So to be saying that we want to add this to the charter, I am totally in favor of that. That is one way. To me, that's part of setting our strategic priorities so that they don't have to keep coming up. And every couple of months or every year when we're doing budgeting, or if a position gets vacated, we don't go back and go, do we really need this? We have our strategic priorities, and I believe they were really well thought out. So let's stick to them. And I'm not able to vote on this today, but I would if I was there, and I would vote. I hope it gets passed on to the legislature so that we can all have a means of voting on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Mike Sigler.
I just had two questions. Just to save me the trouble of reading the entire charter, do we, are all of our department heads in the charter?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So like, if I went into the charter, I could find Director of Public Health?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And number two is, I mean, we've had this position for 6 or 7 years. Six. I'm just wondering, I mean, how effective has it been? I mean, I guess that's a hard metric to kind of get. But, I mean, I guess I would like to go back to the original mission statement of the position and say, okay, have we fulfilled that mission? And if we haven't, then you can look at something like Rich was suggesting or something like that. If we have, great, then you're off to the races kind of idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It would just be, I mean, we should have enough knowledge at this point, even though COVID is stuck in there, maybe to make some kind of judgment on it. That's all I'm thinking, so.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and I had asked Katrina for the resolution, you know, that it stated, and what she came up with was that the creation of the position was decided upon in that year's budget, which would have been 2020 budget, 2019 or 2020. And then 2019? 2019. And then the resolution that's included in your packet is the one that, from 2019, that lists it as a new position that, I guess, functionally created it. So without having a statement from those first days, it's hard to know, like, what, other than from the climate survey and that sort of thing, what was the original goal? I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody could turn something up, but, and I think it's a good point. You know, what accomplishments have been made. It's hard to know if we've reached the goal when we didn't know what the goal was. But I think looking at Charlene's most recent institutionalizing equity report, I mean, there's a lot in there about what she did, and all the things that, you know, took up her time. So I guess that's really my only answer. There might be other people who have other perspectives on whether it has helped reach those goals. Yeah. Okay, Dan Nolan.
Yeah, so my question about this is I'm really happy to see that everyone kind of approaches this from a different perspective, and so we're going to get a wide variety of, you know, Mike's concern about the budget implications and Rich and everyone's concerns about how this position fits into the broader scope of what these services that we're trying to provide, and how it fits into the scope of services that the county provides for folks with regard to human rights and everything like that. I'm just still a little, I'm not convinced that this isn't necessarily an HR function. We have a human resources department. They're great. And given that this is a largely internal facing position that deals with human resources type concerns and addressing human resource type issues, I'm not. I don't see why it isn't a part of the human resources department. I'm not saying that it has to be. I'm not even saying that there isn't good reason for it not to be. I just don't know it, and I would be interested to hear why that necessarily is. And my only other hesitation about supporting it would be that it kind of ties the hands of future, not only legislatures, but county administrators and things along those lines. Putting it in the charters is not an easy thing. I mean, relative to posting a position or filling it. It's harder to undo in the event that it's decided that it needs to be undone for whatever reason. And so for those two kind of reasons, again, I'm not convinced that this function doesn't necessarily need to live elsewhere. And I'm not convinced that it doesn't kind of hamstring future governments in some way. So those are my main concerns with it.
Thanks, Dan. Just in response to you, I would say that it very well could be in the HR department, and I think this resolution does not preclude that from happening. Maury provided us with two options about places that it could sit in the charter, and one of them is sort of the generic spot called other administrative units, and that could be, it's just its own unit, and it could sit in county administration, it could sit with HR, and that's kind of what I was sort of, hearing what everybody's saying, having a group or a task force or tasking WDIC with it going forward and figuring out more of the details about all of this. Passing this resolution does not preclude that. It would simply means that we value this position and we want to see this work done going forward, and let's figure out how best to do that. Okay. I think Dan Klein was next.
Thank you. So yes, I remember when this was created at a budget meeting, and it was really kind of out of nowhere with no documentation, no really good discussion. It was like a last minute thing, which I think most people would agree is really not the best way to do any business, but that's what we did. And I remember I actually asked that day out loud, what will this person do all day? And the honest truth is I still don't understand what this person does all day. I'm going to go back half a step and say, I think it's fair to say that we all support the general principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We probably have slightly different definitions for what those things mean, but I think we all support those ideas. My concern is, has this position actually increased diversity, equity, or inclusion in county government? And I think the answer is no. I'm almost sure the answer is no for diversity. I think we keep those statistics. The other ones are much harder to measure, of course. I also think of the county legislature and county government in general as problem solvers. And it's just not clear to me that this is the way to solve the problem of injustice or diversity or lack of diversity or lack of equity or lack of inclusion. I'm looking for some evidence that, yes, we're on the right track. We haven't solved it, but we've figured out what direction to be moving in, and we should continue to move in that direction. And then one question. I've heard it said a couple of times that we're comparing them to department heads, this position to department heads, and it should be as important as other department heads. A, is this considered a department head now? I don't think it is. And B, would this proposal to put it in the charter make it a department head? Is that part of the proposal?
No. Again, there's a section called Other Administrative Units that lists a chief energy officer, a veterans officer, and I can't remember, but there's a couple other officers. It would not create its own department. It would literally be including language that says, if I can find it, I'm not finding it.
That's okay. I understood what you said. Thank you.
Okay.
I think what you're looking for is in the, maybe I'm guessing wrong.
Yes.
There shall be a chief equity and diversity officer who shall be appointed by the Tompkins County Administrator subject to confirmation by the legislature, and who shall be directly responsible to the county administrator for the implementation of policies established by the legislature, which functionally is the way the position is set up now. This basically just adds it to the charter.
Right, and then the second sentence, the CEDO shall have all the powers and perform all the duties now or hereafter conferred or imposed by law and perform such other and related duties as may be required by the Tompkins County Legislature. Literally, it's just saying we have this position and they will be appointed by the administrator and confirmed by the legislature.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to clear that up because I hear a lot of people saying, well, the other department heads are in there, but it's not really an equivalent. We probably should not be using the term department heads in this discussion.
Right. Okay. I think Shauna was next.
I think one of the things that I would just bring forward is that we actually modeled this position after TC3 and Cornell's. And so the reporting structure that we used, and typically that of larger organizations, the whole idea of having a CEDO position is actually to report directly to the director or the president or the chair of the organization. So if there are serious violations that are happening within the organization, they're taken seriously and they go right to the top. Just like a compliance officer should be reporting directly many times to the CEO. So I mean, I am absolutely open to having more conversation about the description of the position, where it reports to. I feel like those are kind of the smaller details. Important in that if people are unhappy with the deliverables, we need to have that conversation. But I think, for me, it's the principles that many people in this day and time don't feel like their protections are secure. And I think it's up to our government to ensure that within the workplace and out in our community that we are doing our effort to make sure that people feel safe and protected here in our county.
Thanks, Shauna. I'm going to go to Veronica because they have not spoken yet.
Thank you. I might take a minute if that's okay.
Sure.
Or some time. A few things. I didn't come prepared to present here, but I've heard some, but I think I have answers to some of the, questions or confusion I'm hearing about what does the CEDO actually do and what's is there difference or is there a need for all of CEDO and Team Jedi and WDIC? And I think Office of Human Rights was looped in there, but other people addressed that. So I'm setting that aside. So just to make sure everyone is informed, and people covered bits of this, the CEDO, as we know, the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer is a full-time staff position. So it is a single individual, full employee who is paid to work full-time on issues of equity and diversity in the county. In theory, the CEDO could have supervisees. We're not set up for that without outside grants for interns per the whims of outside granting organizations, but it could be. And we know that position was established, before I was here, 5 years ago? And that was one of many recommendations for changing things in this county government that came out of the 2018 climate survey, as in survey of the workplace climate, that people, I think, worked really hard in an iterative process on processing the results of and making tangible modifications to address things that came up in the survey as shortcomings. Team Jedi, standing for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, is also sprung out of that climate survey, or really out of the working group to process the climate survey results. I think some of it turned into Team Jedi, which still exists today. Team Jedi consists all of staff members of the county. So the people on Team Jedi are also paid county employees, but they are not paid to do the Team Jedi work. They are paid to do all manner of other things. They have other jobs, and this is not it. I think it's really important to have Team Jedi. I think they've done great things. In particular, I know that their work may not reach the legislature or everyone in the county, which is, I think, an argument to grow it. But I know that it's been very, very valuable for many of the people on Team Jedi and close to Team Jedi. I've heard people say like they were siloed in their jobs for years before they joined Team Jedi, and then it like opened up a whole new kind of world and understanding of what is going on in the county. WDIC, the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, or Advisory Committee, I'm still struggling with that name, is I guess technically a sort of a subsidiary committee to the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee, but its members are some are legislators, some are staff members, so there's sort of some overlap with Team Jedi, and some are community members, as in they are not employees of the county government at all. So it's sort of a hybrid between a committee and an advisory board, and it can do some of the same stuff that a special committee or an advisory board can do, which is, I think it's very good for providing a forum to bring people interested in, and in many cases experts on, not my case, but in many other cases experts on diversity and inclusion in the workplace. It's been a really helpful forum for discussions and learning and tangling through issues. Something that WDIC does not have is just authority to directly change things in the county government. Something Team Jedi does not have is any authority to directly change things in the county government, nor bandwidth on either case. I guess WDIC members also, nobody gets paid for that. It's either just part of your legislature job or something you've added on top of your staff job, or something that you're just doing because you do it, like any of our advisory board members. So both those groups are great, but it is really important to have at least one staff person whose whole job is to, in partnership with WDIC, in partnership with Team Jedi and others, to work on really concrete deliverables that shifting this institution, the institution of county government, in the direction of equity, both in people's experiences in the county and in service delivery, and to shift it in the direction of diversity. And this, I think, is work that takes a lot of time. It's work I'm not an expert in, but I'm learning things about it. I've learned a ton from our recently, not departed, that sounds bad, but our recent Chief Equity and Diversity Officer. One thing that she has pointed out, sorry, I'm all over the place. One major thing that people have mentioned that she has done or she's led is this institutionalizing equity report. That someone else's desk has the strategic plan like right on it, and I'm seeing the very first priority, not that they're actually in an order, but the first one is an equity action plan, which is essentially the plan embedded in that report. And that's a lot of what it is trying to train us decision makers at the county to look at things and make decisions through an equity lens. What is an equity lens? I don't want to tell you because I'm going to get it wrong. It's like, this is tough. It's both important and tough to develop that lens, but it's something Charlene talked about a lot. And it requires being able to like always have questions of equity in your mind when making decisions, because most of the decisions we make like have an impact on, are somehow related to diversity and equity and inclusion. Like they impact people. There's going to be biases built in, barriers built in, all these things. And it's hard to learn to look through things with like a new set of eyes, a new lens. And I don't think I'm doing a great job of it, but I'm learning. I think that one of Charlene's goals was to have everyone in this county develop that equity lens, and it is a slow process. It's a long process, but it does move forward. At least it does. It is a process that yields results, at least in as much as people engage with it. And I've seen that among the subset of legislators and employees that have been engaging with this so far at, for instance, at various workshops that our Chief Equity and Diversity Officer has made happen. I know a lot of this maybe still sounds like, okay, not that concrete, even though I promise it's going in a concrete direction. But one of the concrete things that I think you could all come watch the latest WDIC meeting, for instance, to get a taste of, and future ones, is developing equity indicators in the various departments. And I was not a direct part of that process, as even, like, I chair WDIC, but again, this is not my expertise, this is not my job. I do not have the capability or capacity to help departments develop their equity indicators, meaning help departments look at what are we doing, where can we make a shift in the direction of equity in a way that is meaningful and relevant to the work of our department. But Charlene could do that and did do that, and from what I heard, for the most part across the board, that it was a good process. It was one that, as she said, lots of staff and department heads really were excited to engage in, but they, not being professional, equity and inclusion, organizational practitioners, because they're all professional, county administrators, finance directors, county attorneys, what have you. I'm just reading people's nameplates. It's not reasonable to expect the department heads to just fold in DEI to their work without support, and this role provides that support. And now, for instance, WDIC recently heard a presentation from Lisa Monroe from the County Office of the Aging about their equity indicators, which is all about nutrition in their meal delivery to seniors, and in particular, getting feedback and input from the people that they don't deliver meals to ask about why, what's needed, and so on. She had more to say about that. And that presentation was great. WDIC, which has existed for, 19 years, was a perfectly great forum to host that presentation, but we couldn't have made that happen without the CEDO. And that, I think, is just one example of a concrete thing that the CEDO has done. So obviously I can't vote on this resolution, but I clearly support it. I hope you'll move it forward. One last thing about why the CEDO is in county administration. Again, I'm not voting now. I'm totally fine with it, potentially shifting around where the position is, but it does, if we're talking about institutionalizing equity, a lot of that has to do with organizational culture, which is in large part is highly influenced by the top administrative department of the organization. In that case, it's county administration. It's also the county legislature, but we don't, we can't just have staff members. Not in that way. So when the CEDO is, but the CEDO's in administration, it kind of links their, they can influence things, offer up their work product essentially to the whole county through some of the avenues that county administration has, which is sort of different and further reaching than even HR or anyone else. Okay, thanks for your patience.
Yes. Thanks for speaking. Annie, do you have something else?
Yeah, try and make sure I don't repeat too many things. So just in response to what someone said regarding this kind of maybe came out of the blue or something. I'm not sure the exact words. When this position 4 years ago was added to the budget, as I said before, this was worked on at least 20 years before, with WDIC, with the climate survey, with so many organizations in the community and people asking us, because we are not as equitable and inclusive as we would like to be, as the community wants us to be. And as people cited other organizations that have a department and or a person that works on these issues, we are not immune from needing to move that needle forward to more just and equitable services and operations for our employees and for the community. And I just want to say that also that was mentioned, some of the Veterans Officer, the Energy Officer. We also have employees that work on transportation and housing. So imagine if every time that those positions, where we have maybe just 1 or 2 people working on certain things, that every time that position was empty or got vacated, we said, well, do we really need that? We would spend the legislature would spend all of our time, I would imagine, or a lot more time reevaluating these things. And this is really hard. So just think about, for people who are, marginalized or who face systemic discrimination, this is really hard to have to come and explain over and over. I'll stop at over and over because that's just the 2 times since the position was vacated. But for years, people worked on this. And if you're not in the trenches, if you're not working on WDIC, or you're not in the diversity consortium, or in other ways working on human rights issues, this might have come out of the blue. I could say the same thing when we hired the veterans person, but somebody gave the history of that. Are we asking them to repeat that? Why do we need that? And just as I always trust people that are in those committees and working on those things, that that they know what's going on and they know what we need. I'm not going to second guess them. And where I've heard some of the second guessing is people that aren't involved in this on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. So I'm asking you to trust us that if you're not in there, you might not know why we need it, but please trust us or take some time. I'm hoping this passes out of committee today, and I'm asking folks to, all legislators to take a look if they are not familiar. Talk to people on the Human Rights Commission. Attend one of the Human Rights Commission meetings. Talk to folks on Team Jedi. Attend and watch previous WDIC meetings. Ask for the history. There was a history, I think, that we had wrote up about the CETO position, about WDIC. So that's there. So please, or sit down with some of the people, fellow legislators that are working on some of those things. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, and I would just add that the original resolution I wrote that I passed on to Maury, which he kind of turned that into the local law memo, which is on packet page 32, 33, and 34. I mean, that does, my goal was to list out some of the history and our various statements on diversity, equity, inclusion, and, WDIC and the climate survey and all of that. So I did try to include that information so there's context for that. Does anybody who has not spoken want to say anything? Okay. So let's go ahead and vote. This is...
Wait. You just said if somebody hadn't spoken, but someone
sorry.
might want to speak again.
Yes, sure, you can speak again. Sure, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to acknowledge that we did get a letter from the WDIC committee.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
We appreciated that from the committee, supporting your resolution here. I see we've been joined by Corsa. Can he answer that question that you had?
Which question?
About whether he was going to be suggesting combining the 2 positions.
Yes, thank you. Corsa, are you there with us?
Yes, I am. It was an unexpected question.
Okay, so I guess if there's any, I don't know, I didn't notice when you jumped in or not, but if you have thoughts about sort of this discussion about combining the Office of Human Rights and the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer, or that was something that we had kind of talked about in the past, and I had kind of thought you were gonna want to talk about at this meeting. But so if you have any thoughts about that, I think folks are interested.
Yeah, so for me, I think what is very fundamental is the outcomes that we achieve for every single position we have in the county and every single department for that matter as well. So it is essential that we evaluate our resources all the time and make sure the outcomes that we set for ourselves, one, are achievable, and two, there are concrete steps for us to achieve that. When I came into the role, the vacancy of Human Rights Director position did exist. And I believe myself working with the the Human Rights Commission, did a presentation to the committee, Health and Human Services, the importance of keeping the county's human rights arm. I have also been educated at several locations on the changes to the degree of responsibility that the office had and what currently what the office can and cannot do. In our process to make sure we are rationalizing our resources and we are getting better outcomes for our services, for me, the idea of some degree of integration came to me, and I believe questions were asked of me if I have done some degree of critical analysis to identify which areas of those positions can be merged or not merged. Because of the way the county administration is set up, of evaluating and providing legislatures specific set of information to guide your decision making, I haven't dived deep into that specific integration to propose a path forward for you to consider. And I think if we have our set outcomes defined, no matter how we set up the government, we can develop, if we have the committed individuals in specific roles to do certain jobs, we'll be able to achieve those outcomes. If the direction from all of you is to look at some degree of integration, I'm sure on behalf of county administration, working with all of our resources, we can come up with a plan that will make sure we are providing our residents the best possible support that is needed. I understand currently the Office of Human Rights does not conduct investigations, and most of the work that is done in that agency is now more of a referral and also education and informing the public of their right and a few other services. So the office outcomes has changed. So it is essential that internally we also evaluate what the office, how the office is set up, and also how it is meeting the needs of our community currently. We all agree there's a huge desire to ensure, especially in the times that we are in, that people get the services they need, they get support for their right protection, they get support and connected to services that they need. So it is essential for us to evaluate the setup and then make sure we are achieving our set goals. So I cannot say precisely to merge or not to merge, but I seriously think that if with the direction and the commitment from the legislatures, we can achieve the set outcome. We can provide the people the support that is needed. We can make the office functional through that integration or not. With the chair of the Human Rights Commission, and I understand that the position in the Human Rights Commission, as it is now, is different from what a CEDA is. And others are also indicated to me the fear of undermining one of those roles if there is an integration. So it's all about how we design the job requirement, how we craft our expectations, and how we identify an individual that can fit that role. So for county administration, we will do whatever it takes to make sure we get out best outcome for all our unit, all our agencies. So, but the decision at this point is with the legislature if we really want to see some change of some sort of reimagining those offices because of the fact that we don't conduct direct investigations of human rights complaints at this point. So if that is the desire, I can work with my team, we can have some consultation, we can reach out to how other entities are set up in different counties and different jurisdictions and propose a path forward for you to consider. But I think that conversation is different from what the resolution is asking to do, and I don't want to combine those discussions because I think there are two different discussions, and we need to ensure that we separate those discussions. The other side of it is, as a county administration, for me, we need to have structured commitment. I can say, I've worked in an agency whereby I supervise individuals that are hired for me. And sometimes the difficulty that I had is individual not knowing whether they report to me or they report to the agent, to the unit that hired them. So sometimes we need to make sure we don't put shackles on our hands to prevent our ability to oversight and provide supervision to a specific set of departments or to a specific set of unit. I have seen that somewhere else, and I don't think they're trying to do here will provide that, but the only thing I can say is make sure we don't build an architecture that becomes difficult to untangle.
Thanks, Corsa. Anybody else need to say anything? So just in terms of process, we would need to move this public hearing resolution in addition to the local law resolution, and then that would go to the public hearing resolution would go to the legislature in 2 weeks, with the public hearing being set on December 2nd. And then that would be the point when we would talk about the actual resolution and have a vote on it if we get that far. So again, this what we're going to vote on is to authorize a public hearing to potentially change the charter to simply add the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer position into the charter. Any last questions or thoughts? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Dan Nolan.
I'm going to have to vote no.
Greg.
Yes.
Rich.
No.
Mike.
I'll vote yes to move it forward, but I won't say I'm going to vote for it on the floor.
Thank you very much, Mike, and I'm a yes. So that passes 3-2. And sorry, just finding the next resolution. So this is adoption of local law number E of 2025, local law adding the position of Chief Equity and Diversity Officer to the Tompkins County Charter. So someone needs to move that. Greg moves. Is there a seconder? Can I second or?
Yeah.
Oh, then I'll second that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Maury question. If we pass the resolution to have a public hearing, what if we don't pass this one? Do you still have the public hearing?
Meaning, if this resolution did not pass here, how could this come forward? I think that
Maybe
it might delay it, but somebody could introduce it to the full legislature, and the full legislature would vote on, as a committee of the whole, on whether to move it forward to a public hearing and vote at the next meeting. So that would be the alternative path if it was voted down here.
Gotcha.
So, right, so we just voted to have a public hearing.
Right.
So that would go forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is hypothetical, of course, and we shouldn't talk too much about hypotheticals, but if the vote had been the other way, say 2-3,
right.
I think you could have introduced it tonight, but you'd need an addition to the agenda, so you'd need to get 10 votes to add it to the agenda, or you could introduce it at the next legislature meeting. So it would just, the ultimate vote, if it were advanced to public hearing by a committee of the whole, would be 2 weeks later than what's happening now.
Right, gotcha. Okay, questions or comments? I think we've talked about this enough. So again, this would be the adoption of the local law, moving this forward to the full legislature. Dan Nolan?
No.
Greg?
Yes.
Rich?
No.
And Mike?
Yes, with the same proviso.
Great, thank you, and I'm a yes. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate folks who came who aren't on the committee and sharing your thoughts and asking questions. We're getting on in time here, so we just have a brief update from the clerk of the legislature about the positions in your office.
Yes. As everybody knows, there's been a vacancy in the office for over 6 months, and we've struggled, but we've maintained. I have done a thorough review of the needs of the office and worked with HR and the conversion process, and I feel that the needs would be best, the needs that aren't being met currently would be best met with a legislative assistant over a chief deputy clerk, and I have moved forward. Corsa has provided his approval of that position, and we're going to get ready to post it next week. It would be a budget savings for the department and the county overall, $16,000 plus fringe roughly. Primary responsibilities of the position would be records management, which is an essential function in the office, and it would also include conducting research, which I think the records management position would benefit more efficient research, and helping draft future resolutions and legislation. Also, we're moving to new software in the near future, and this position is would be key to that process also. The position would not primarily be doing what the current deputy clerks do, but would be a backup to them. And if I were unavailable, both deputy clerks can act on my behalf and when I'm not available. So I think all of the bases in the office has been covered. I reached out to other clerks across the state and legislative boards and got input from all kinds of different people and different opinions, but I think this is the best for our legislature.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments? And sorry if you said this isn't something that we need to vote on or approval. This is just, I asked her to give us a little update about the change in structure.
And I can send out the job description to all legislators and just a quick email as to what's going on.
Yeah, that'd be great. But any questions? All right, thank you. Thanks, Katrina. Quick reports here. Katrina and I did meet to talk about onboarding our 8 new legislators. Katrina has quite a pile of good stuff and is going to work with IT to put together a SharePoint site that can gather all kinds of good information, links and documents and all that kind of stuff. I sent out an email to legislators. If you have, ideas, or if there's something that you wish you had been told early on, please do let me know. And I think we have a lot of great ideas, don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, so Katrina is kind of leading this effort. But there will be opportunities, obviously, for legislators and other staff to set up meetings with the new folks. So, Corsa, question or comment?
Yes, I just wanted to comment quickly that also for county administration, I've been working with Katrina to work through welcoming and introducing some of all the new legislatures to the structures in the county administration, the department visitation, and few things before they actually get sworn in. So I'll be working closely with Katrina on that to set out some calendar and work with the department heads to make sure we're able to, as much as possible, welcome them to our offices, introduce some of the programs and staffing that we have and the structure that exists in county, throughout the county department before they actually assume their role in January.
Yeah, that's great. Something that Dan Klein imparted to my group of legislators when we came on was the idea of us going to each department and meeting with the department head and getting to know them, asking questions, spending an hour or more. And that was really beneficial to the Fab Five, as we called ourselves back then. And so I will certainly be encouraging the new folks to set up similar, opportunities, meetings with all of our departments, agencies, anyone that they can get their hands on, so they can, just dive in and get to know the departments.
Point of order?
Yeah.
What will you be calling them? Their nickname?
You
can get back to me.
Awesome Eight.
Eager 8.
Eager 8, I like that.
Eager 8. Something. I mean, actually,
The unfortunate 8?
Mike, I think actually they need to come up with their own name. So. And then the last thing is that next month will be my last month as chair of the Government Operations Committee. And if you are willing and able to wear the lovely teal blue color, as many of you are today, our county administrator has indicated he will wear his full teal suit to that meeting. And it would be awesome to get another group photo if possible. But again, it's never any pressure. You're not required to wear teal, except for the county administrator.
But if you don't, you'll be ostracized, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Yes, of course, okay.
Okay, let's see. Bridget already gave a report. County Attorney, Maury, do you have any updates for us?
No updates beyond what we already discussed.
Okay, thank you. Director of Finance, Daryl.
Hello. I have filled my vacant deputy position. That was done through an internal promotion. We have posted that position and we're in the middle of the search right now and hoping to find a good candidate as I continue to fill all my positions in my department. I believe last GO committee, I promised a couple policies just to ensure that they're properly reviewed before they get to you. There has been a delay. Other than that, my department's been business as usual, but I am open to any questions.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Daryl? Mike?
Daryl, can you say who you've promoted?
Can I?
Or is it too soon?
You can say who you
Okay, I wanted to make sure I could.
You're not commenting on performance or anything.
Just making sure. I wasn't sure I could give the name. That's why I was vague. Alaric Softly, who was my Director of Accounting Services, was promoted to the second deputy position.
I missed the name, I'm sorry.
Alaric Softly.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And that leaves his position open, which we did start a search a couple weeks ago. We've got a few candidates, but it's going to be open for another week or two.
Great. All right, thanks so much for being here. Communications Director, Monica, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, you're probably already sick of all my emails all month long.
Never.
So last month, October, was marked with a lot of strategic planning with different departments in our office. So we were part of the planning committee for the GARE conference, and we also provided event photography. Those conference photos will be made available soon. I've been also working with the whole health department to plan Friday's press event at Brown Road for the mental health clinic. We'll also provide video and photography for this event. County administration has been working with DOER and the Board of Elections for election preparedness. And I provided simple messaging for the incident action plan. And that was really the first time that I was involved in that. So that was really interesting, doing tabletop exercises and really thinking about all the things that could happen and thankfully didn't happen. And we've been also working, obviously, very closely with DSS in a number of ways on a community outreach plan for the Code Blue shelter. We just recently had the neighborhood event, which was really well attended. So thank you to everybody who was able to make it. And also then a lot of it goes into notification of the public and partners currently about the Code Blue activation nights before the actual shelter opens. And then again with DSS and COFA and other community partners like Bridget mentioned, very close partnership, very many meetings about how we accurately and up to date provide information to the public and to our partners about this very quickly changing situation with the SNAP and HEAP delays due to the ongoing federal government shutdown. On top of that, we received about 60 support requests from departments. Year to date, which is from July on when we started tracking that, 248 requests. 88 of those are completed. And so about a quarter of those are requests for support with press releases and media relations in different ways. Another quarter is website support. And another quarter is event support, photography, videography, those kind of things. And so typically we have, especially for website support, we have one or more staff in each department trained on the website content management system. And so as we're getting those requests in, we're keeping track of them. And we're also trying to figure out how can we make those answers available to the other website users as well, because chances are that similar questions will come up with others. So we're discussing, quick fact sheets for certain tools that they might want to use on the website, and also maybe short training videos that we can put on the intranet. And in terms of photography and videography support, we have several video projects in the works with different departments right now. And then last but not least, we had about 74 media articles documented on county operations in October, and you'll get that information with your weekly updates this week. And we distributed 14 press releases. That's it.
Great. You're always doing so much. I mean, I can't keep track of it. Questions or comments? Rich?
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation to the Cherry Street neighborhood about the shelter, organizing that. I think it was really useful to sit down in the room with everybody. It seemed to be very well received. So good job.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I think it was also very well received, from different parts. VOA was happy to be able to, reach out to the community and speak to people, and I think the neighboring businesses who showed up and providers who work with homeless populations also felt heard.
And Amanda, I have a public hearing in Caroline, so I got to go.
I think we're just about done. You're lucky. Anything else? Questions for Monica? Okay. Any committee members have any comments or questions or concerns? If you have any dying last breath issues you want to get on the GEO agenda next month, and while I'm in charge, please send them my way, because who knows what's going to happen next year. And I'll just put in my plug now for Legislator Greg Mezey being the chair of the Government Operations Committee next year, as he will be the only returning government operational person. So going to keep pushing for that. Sorry, Greg.
After a 2-year hiatus in the middle of my term.
Yeah, well.
Glad to be back.
Mike?
The nice thing about if you move legislators around is they get more experience on different committees, so.
Definitely.
It's all right if you get somebody from another committee that may have been, probably somebody who's been on the legislature would need to chair this committee or any of the other committees, but.
Absolutely.
But Greg, I don't know.
Maybe Greg can't do it. Yeah.
No, Mike, all is fair and privilege of the floor.
Not sure. You might be too busy. Thank you all, as usual. Always a fun time here. Appreciate all the work you all do, and we are adjourned.